Heartwarming transformation. Millionaire exposes Nanny in a touching, 30-day, life-changing journey. Jake sat in his sleek leather office chair, scrolling through emails detailing bank transactions and investment returns. The soft hum of the city buzzed beyond the glass wall, a kaleidoscope of wealth and privilege. His world. But beneath the polished facade was a man battling an invisible wall of solitude. At 35, he had built an empire, but the success felt more like a gilded cage. He'd forgotten the warmth of laughter, the smell of home-cooked meals, and the soft hugs of family. Enter Maria. A single mom working as a nanny in Jake's lavish home, with calloused hands that spoke of labor and love. At 28, she wore her struggle like a badge of honor. Working part-time at a local diner, she juggled her two energetic kids with a fierce determination, dreaming of a brighter future. Laughter bloomed between her children and the toy-strewn living room, juxtaposed against the sleek, expensive decor around her. One rainy afternoon, fortune twisted unexpectedly. Jake's luxury car broke down in the heart of Maria's neighborhood, a place pulsing with life, yet marred by hardship. As he waited for the tow, the reality of his surroundings seeped into him. He observed families trudging home, kids in rain-soaked sneakers, mothers with tired smiles and weary hearts. His heart tightened. These were the faces of grit and resilience. What began as a minor inconvenience turned into a transformative journey. Jake stepped into Maria's life with a commitment to understand her world, confronting the stark contrast to his own. Dinner with her family was a revelation, a simple spread of rice and beans, served on an old table, yet overflowing with laughter and warmth. He felt the weight of their stories, the dreams filled with struggles for education, safety, and hope. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Each day became a lesson in humility. Participating in community events, Jake had his heart pulled in different directions. Stories of dreams unfulfilled painted a vivid picture of the struggles people like Maria faced daily. His notions of success felt dim in comparison to the true perseverance he witnessed. It ignited empathy. Each interaction chipped away at his carefully constructed armor. But just as hope began to sprout, Maria faced a crisis. News of a health scare in her family hit hard, like a storm cloud looming overhead. She contemplated moving for better resources, and Jake felt the walls of their fragile connection trembling. Would she pull away, just as he'd begun to understand? As whispers of judgment threatened to bind him, Jake was left wrestling with a daunting truth: embrace the new values she'd instilled in him, or retreat back to the safe cocoon of his wealth. With their worlds trembling on the brink of separation, Jake was faced with an earth-shattering decision that could either bridge the gap between their lives or deepen it irreparably. Would he choose the path of true connection, or would privilege leave him in its haunting grip? The tension pulsed like a heartbeat, leaving readers holding their breath for what was to come next. The air in Jake's office felt thick, almost suffocating with indecision. He stared blankly at the computer screen, profits and losses blurring into a meaningless jumble. Maria's laughter still echoed in his ears from that last dinner they shared. The simple joys, the rice, the beans, the camaraderie, were becoming the highlights of his once sterile existence. As twilight settled, he made a choice. Instead of retreating to his usual sanctuary of luxury and isolation, he drove to Maria's neighborhood. The streets, illuminated by a few flickering street lamps, were alive with the sounds of children playing and families laughing. It felt like a heartbeat, pulsating with vibrancy, a stark contrast to the silence of his own gilded world. Arriving at her modest home, he knocked softly, both excited and fearful of the impending conversation. When Maria opened the door, the surprise on her face was evident. She wore an apron smeared with flour and an expression of both relief and wariness. "Hey, Jake. What are you doing here?" "I wanted to check on you," he replied, not able to hide a smile. "I heard about the news. Thought maybe we could talk." Her eyes flickered with hesitation before she stepped aside. "Come in." The warmth of the inside enveloped him. He noticed the kids' drawings plastered on the refrigerator, a reminder of the lives that breathed here, full of color amid chaos. I'm worried about everything," Maria started, her voice delicate. "I need to prioritize my kids' health and education, and if that means moving, I have to consider that." Jake felt a pang in his heart. What if there's another way? The words slipped out before he could contemplate them. "I mean, is it possible to find resources here? Support?" She shook her head, a mixture of frustration and determination. Support doesn't just appear out of thin air. You have to fight for it. He could sense the weight she carried, the relentless pressure to ensure a better future for her children. It triggered something inside him, a connection he hadn't anticipated. What if I helped? The words faded into the air between them, heavy with implications. Maria's gaze pierced through him, a blend of skepticism and intrigue. "You think you can just step into my world and make everything okay?" Jake stepped forward, feeling a need to bridge the emotional gap that had formed. "I don't know if I can make anything okay, but I want to try. Your struggles matter, and I want to help. Not from a distance." Their eyes locked, the silence stretching. In that moment, something shifted. It was raw, unguarded. Two worlds precariously close, yet still uncertain. Maria sighed, her shoulders slumping slightly. "I don't know, Jake. It's not just about getting what I need. It's about my kids, too. What does this mean for them?" He took a deep breath, the weight of the moment not lost on him. "I understand if you don't want my help. Really, I do. But maybe, just maybe, together we can figure this out." Doubt flickered in her eyes, but beneath it, hope seemed to pulse, tentative yet alive. "You'd really help?" "Absolutely," he said, his voice steady. But even as he spoke, uncertainty gnawed at him. Could he follow through? Just then, her youngest child raced in, holding a crumpled drawing of a superhero. "Look, Miss Maria, I made this for you." Amidst the love and chaos, Jake smiled. The innocence reminded him of all he stood to lose if he didn't take this chance. Would he step fully into Maria's world, risking his own comfort, or let the moment pass, blending back into the shadows of wealth? The thought lingered as their lives teetered on the brink of profound change. What would happen when night fell, and both light and darkness sought to define their choices? The answer loomed, and Jake felt a surge of determination. Would they find a path together, or would the burdens of society break them apart in the end? The next morning, the sun broke through the clouds, casting a warm glow that felt different. It seemed to promise change. Jake awoke with a newfound clarity, a resolve that had been elusive until now. The moments in Maria's living room replayed in his mind, the laughter of her children echoing like music. He knew he needed to act, and not let the fear of the unknown hold him back. After grabbing a quick breakfast, Jake headed to his office, energy surging through him. He flipped through documents with purpose, making calls and reaching out to different organizations that could offer assistance to families like Maria's. Each connection ignited a spark of excitement in him, reminding him of how he felt just a day ago when he stood in her warmth. He wanted to be part of something bigger, something meaningful. Later that afternoon, he found himself back in Maria's neighborhood, a stack of flyers and brochures in hand. As he approached her modest home, he hesitated for a moment, uncertainty creeping in. What if this wasn't enough? What if his efforts failed to truly help her? Maria opened the door again, surprise dancing across her face. "Jake, you're back. I thought you might have changed your mind," she said, the slight smile doing little to mask her worry. "No way," he replied, stepping inside as the children rushed around him, exclaiming about their day. "I just wanted to share some ideas." She raised an eyebrow, curiosity piqued. "Ideas? For resources?" "Exactly." He spread the flyers across her small kitchen table, each paper marking a different possibility, from local food banks offering nutritious meals to after-school tutoring programs. "I reached out to some organizations. They can help with school supplies, healthcare, you name it. It's all right here." Her eyes widened as she began to examine the brochures. A flicker of hope sparked, but was quickly met with caution. "Jake, this feels too good to be true. What's the catch?" "No catch," he promised, his voice steady. "Just people wanting to help, just like I do." For a moment, the room was filled with silence, the weight of their dreams hanging in the air. She pulled a chair closer, her fingers trembling over the papers. "You really think this can work?" "I do. You deserve this support. Your kids deserve it." Children raced in and out as Jake and Maria discussed details. He shared stories from every brochure, painting a picture of hope with each word. A world where dreams were accessible, not just wished for. Soon, excitement filled the room, laughter spilling out amid stilted conversations about budgets and resources. For the first time in what seemed like ages, Maria's face glowed with unguarded joy. "I can't believe this. I should have done this sooner." Jake felt a warmth swell inside him, not just for helping, but for what he saw in her, potential, determination, qualities he yearned for in his own life. "Maybe we can do this together. I'll be here every step." In that moment, a connection deepened between them, an understanding that they were both altering their paths, intertwining their journeys into something uncharted yet exciting. But as the sun dipped lower in the sky, doubt flickered in Maria's eyes once more. "Jake, this is amazing. But what if things go wrong? What if I can't keep up?" He took a deep breath, sensing the weight of her fears. "Life is full of risks. We can either sit back and let them control us, or we can fight for something better, together." The words hung between them, echoing with promise and uncertainty. As shadows stretched across the room, an electric tension replaced the earlier laughter. Would they embrace this change hand in hand, or would the reality of their worlds push them apart again? Outside, the street buzzed with life, and Jake felt the gravity of his choice. Who would he be if he didn't take this leap? What would he lose if they failed? Determination blended with fear as he glanced at Maria. "Whatever you decide, I'll always support you." But Maria hadn't spoken yet. The night held its breath, waiting to see if they would step into the light or retreat into the dark. How would this story unfold under the looming sky? With hearts on the line, they had a decision to make. The silence pressed around them, stretching out like the gathering shadows. Jake watched Maria's expression shift between hope and fear. It was a delicate balance, and he could sense that she was teetering on the edge. Her shoulders slumped slightly, like the weight of the world rested upon them. "Jake," she finally said, her voice a whisper. "What if I let everyone down? What if I fail to make this work?" He stepped closer, closing the distance not just physically but emotionally. "Failure isn't the end, Maria. It's just a stepping stone. You've got the strength within you. All you need to do is take that first step." She looked into his eyes, searching for assurance. In that moment, Jake was reminded of the courage it took for anyone to ask for help. He had learned that lesson through the years, his own battles, and the way the support of others had lifted him when he felt lost. "What if I can't keep the faith?" she asked, her voice thickening with anxiety. Jake leaned forward, resting a hand on the table, feeling the rough surface under his fingertips as he spoke. You won't be alone. We'll face every hurdle together. Just remember, it's okay to falter. We can pick each other back up. Her gaze softened as a glimmer of hope broke through the anxiety. Slowly, she nodded. Okay. I want to try. For my kids. For me. Just then, the door swung open, and her children burst in, chattering excitedly about their day. They were a whirlwind of energy, and suddenly, the room filled with laughter again. Jake couldn't help but smile at their infectious joy. Hey kiddos, did you have fun today? He asked, kneeling to their level. We built the biggest block tower ever, one of the kids exclaimed, eyes wide with pride. Wow, I'd love to see that, Jake replied, his heart swelling with warmth. Maria watched the scene unfold, the fear in her eyes giving way to laughter and love. Jake noticed how she leaned into her children's energy, letting it fill the room with light. An idea sparked in his mind. What if we make this a community project? Your kids could help too. We can have workshops, meetings, get the neighborhood involved. It could be a chance not just to find resources, but to build a support network for everyone. Her face lit up further, and he could see the wheels turning in her head. A community project? That sounds amazing. If we can involve others, maybe it won't feel so overwhelming. Yes, let's gather the neighbors, share stories, offer help. We could turn this into something beautiful, Jake said, thrilled with the possibility. As they discussed ideas, the room transformed, vibrant with hope and laughter. Jake watched as Maria's spirit began to lift, her determination shining bright. Yet, beneath the surface, Jake couldn't shake the tension still gripping him. There was still uncertainty lingering in the corners about whether this would truly work. The day came to a close, and he bid goodbye to Maria and her children, promising he would return the next day with more plans. As he stepped outside, the cool evening air hit him like a wave of reality. He felt invigorated but also acutely aware of the risks. What if the community didn't respond? What if Maria faced even more hurdles ahead? Driving home, Jake couldn't help but think about how this journey was beginning to shape him too. It wasn't just about helping Maria anymore. It was about discovering parts of himself he didn't know existed. In the days to come, would he find the courage to step out of his comfort zone alongside Maria? Or would fear creep back in, threatening to unravel their newfound hope? The question lingered, heavy in his heart. What awaited them both on this uncharted path? The next morning dawned bright and clear, a perfect backdrop for the hopeful plans Jake and Maria were beginning to carve out. Jake's heart thumped with a mix of excitement and nerves as he parked in front of Maria's home. He could already imagine the children's laughter echoing in the air, and it filled him with warmth. As he stepped inside, the familiar chaos welcomed him. A kitchen filled with the aroma of breakfast, and the kids already buzzing around the dining table. Maria stood at the stove, stirring something in a pot, her hair thrown up in a messy bun. She shot him a bright smile, a small but significant change from the anxious woman he had first met. "Good morning. I was just about to call you," she said, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "I've been thinking more about our plan." "I'm all ears," Jake replied, eager to hear her ideas. "I talked with a couple of neighbors last night," she continued, her excitement spilling over. "They're really interested in helping out. One of them even offered to host the first meeting at her house." Jake felt a rush of pride for her initiative. "That's amazing, Maria. It's like you're already building a community." Her smile grew wider. "And the kids can help too. They can get involved in every part of this, making posters, planning fun activities for the workshops." He leaned in closer. "Every bit counts. You're teaching them something powerful, that they can make a difference." As they brainstormed, laughter filled the room, The children chimed in with ideas of their own, hopping from one suggestion to another. Jake couldn't help but be swept away by their energy. It was a reminder of why he was there, why this was so important. "What if we create a mural together?" one of the kids said suddenly, eyes sparkling. "We can paint everyone's hopes and dreams on it." "That's a brilliant idea," Jake exclaimed, and Maria looked at her children, pride radiating from her. "See? You're already bringing out the best in them," Jake said. "It's all coming together." After breakfast, they gathered materials and set off to visit the neighbors. Jake felt nervousness creep in again. How would they react? Yet with each house they approached, he felt the warmth of camaraderie begin to grow. Neighbors opened their doors with welcoming smiles, intrigued by the idea. "Count me in," a kind-faced woman exclaimed as she leaned against her door. "I've been looking for a way to help." Maria's face lit up with joy, and for each affirmative response they received, Jake saw her confidence grow. It was as if each yes took away another layer of doubt. But with exhilaration came a flicker of fear. What if some said no? What if the project failed? Jake pushed those thoughts aside. He had to focus on the momentum building around them, the small but meaningful connections they were forging. As dusk fell, they headed back, the weight of hope buoying Jake's heart. But as he pulled into his driveway, a sudden realization hit him. This journey wasn't just about Maria or her family. It was changing him too. He remembered a time when he had felt lost and alone, searching for his own purpose. Now, he felt grounded, purpose breathing life into his days. But the path wasn't entirely clear. Jake was starting to feel the pressure of responsibility. If this fell apart, would that be another failure he'd have to face? Would he be able to keep up the momentum they'd created? Tomorrow would bring new challenges, and Jake was left wondering, how far would they rise together before they hit a snag? What would it take for them to truly believe in themselves? The morning sun streamed through Jake's window, hinting at another vibrant day ahead. He awoke with a tingle of optimism. Today felt different, as if the ripple effect of their efforts was beginning to stir something deeper in the community. The graffiti of nerves lingered, but they felt more like butterflies in his stomach, whispering of anticipation. At Maria's house, a buzz of activity greeted him once again. The kitchen was already full of kids bustling about, their energy palpable. Maria was setting out jars of paint, and Jake's heart swelled as he realized they were going to start on the mural today. She looked over her shoulder, gives him that bright smile that sparked hope. "Hey, Jake, ready to make some art?" she called out, her enthusiasm infectious. "Ready as I'll ever be," he replied, grinning back. The kids were already squabbling over colors, each one eyeing the bright paints as if they were treasures. "I want the blue," one shouted. "No, I want the sun to be yellow," another chimed in. Their innocence and passion drew Jake closer, making the weight of his worries feel lighter. Maria stepped in smoothly, her voice calm but firm. "All right, artists, let's make a plan. What do we want to paint first?" As ideas bounced around the room, Jake felt a rush of excitement fill the air. He stepped back to soak in the scene. Paint-smeared hands, beaming faces, laughter echoing like a promise. Even the smallest contributions were huge in this moment. A pure demonstration of community spirit taking shape. Later, as they staked out their work area in the yard, Jake took a moment to gaze at Maria. She had clearly transformed, her initial hesitation replaced by a grounded confidence. As she organized supplies, their eyes met, and for a brief moment, everything else faded away. It wasn't just about the mural. It was about them, all of them coming together, sharing dreams, and lifting each other up. "Look, let's paint something that represents hope," one curious little girl suggested. "Like a rainbow." "Perfect," Jake said, encouraged that the kids were catching on to the theme. Each rainbow color would symbolize their shared dreams, their collective future. As they painted, laughter filled the air until one of the older kids paused, brow furrowing in thought. "What if," he began, hesitating, "what if someone doesn't like what we make?" Jake felt a wave of unease. Their safe haven of laughter cracked momentarily. "Not everyone will like everything we do. That's okay," he reassured them. "What matters is that we tried, and we did it together." Maria watched, her eyes glistening. She came over, crouching beside the young boy. "And later, we can paint over it, change it, or improve it. That's how we grow. Just like life," she added softly. With renewed enthusiasm, the children picked up their brushes once again. They poured into the mural everything they had: hopes, fears, laughter, and a touch of innocence. Jake was filled with a sense of belonging, a joy he hadn't truly felt in ages. The day melted away, thick with warmth and color, as they finally stepped back to admire their creation. The mural transformed the blank wall into a vibrantly colored portrayal of dreams and laughter. Jake felt a tug at his heart, realizing this was only the beginning. Maria caught his eye, a silent understanding passing between them. But just then, the distant sound of a siren cut through the joy like a shard of ice. Jake's breath caught in his throat. What did that mean for their dream? Would their newfound community face challenges they hadn't prepared for? The uncertainty loomed over them like a shadow. What came next would test everything they had built so far. Jake's heart raced as the siren's wail drew closer. The lightness of the day transformed into a heavy blanket of dread. He felt the kids' laughter fade, replaced by nervous whispers and wide eyes staring up at the sky in trepidation. He shared a quick glance with Maria, whose expression morphed from joyful creativity into concern. "Okay, everyone, listen up," Maria said, her voice steady, though shaky at the edges. "Let's focus. We've created something beautiful today, and that's what matters. Nothing can take that away from us." But Jake noticed how her hands trembled slightly as she placed a jar of paint down. The tension in the air was palpable. What if someone didn't like their mural? What if the sirens weren't just a passing worry, but a real threat? He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility. "Let's make sure we clean up, just in case we need to head inside," he suggested, attempting to rally the kids. They busied themselves, but the vibrant colors of the mural suddenly felt fragile, like the laughter that had filled the air moments earlier. As they organized brushes and paints, he couldn't shake the unease. The siren's noise eventually faded, replaced by silence, but the uneasiness lingered. He could see Maria's mind racing, her eyes darting around, searching for something. Reassurance, maybe? Once the chaos of cleaning settled, Maria gathered the kids around her. "How about we add one last thing to our mural?" she proposed. The children looked up eagerly, a flicker of hope reigniting in their eyes. A symbol of unity, something that reminds us we're all in this together. That idea sparked excitement among them, and Jake felt a renewed sense of purpose. He picked up a brush, ready to contribute once again. "How about a giant heart?" he suggested, his voice rising above the whispering wind. "A heart!" the kids echoed, and Jake felt the energy shift back to something brighter. Each child reached for a color, blending hues in a chaotic masterpiece. Jake joined in, painting the edges of the heart. He could see the children around him pouring every bit of their spirit into this segment of the wall. They weren't just creating art. They were building solidarity, creating a promise that they would stand by each other no matter the impending storm. As they worked together, a sunny warmth seeped back into the moment. Laughter returned, and the humming sound of brushes against the wall muffled the worries that once hung over them like dark clouds. When they finally stepped back to admire their hard work, the heart stood tall in the center of vibrant colors, a beacon of hope painted in unison. "It looks amazing," one girl beamed. Just like us. Jake felt a swell of pride. "Remember this, everyone," he said, voice brimming with emotion. "This mural is not just paint on a wall. It's a reminder of what we can do, together." Just as they celebrated their accomplishment, the sound of sirens returned. This time, more urgent, menacing. Jake's heart dropped. "Stay close!" Maria shouted as she ushered the kids towards the house. He could see the worry etched on her face, her bravery shining through the fear. As they rushed inside, Jake cast one last glance at the mural. It felt like a fragile promise, a lifeline in an uncertain world. He couldn't help but wonder if they could really navigate whatever troubles lay ahead. Would their bond truly hold strong against the chaos, or was it merely a beautiful illusion? The answer loomed before them, and they were about to find out. Once inside, the door slammed shut behind them, a sudden slice of noise that felt jarring compared to the laughter moments before. Maria quickly ushered the children into a circle, her voice steady, but laced with urgency. "Let's sit down and breathe. We need to stay calm." Jake watched as the kids settled, their vibrant energy now subdued by confusion and a creeping fear. He could see their eyes darting to the windows, hoping to catch a glimpse of whatever lay outside. He didn't blame them. It was unsettling to feel the world shift so suddenly, turning from playful creativity to looming dread. "Do you think it's bad?" one of the boys finally whispered, voice small and teetering on the edge of tears. Maria knelt down, bringing herself to eye level with the boy. "I don't know, but we're together. That counts for something, right?" She offered a smile, trying to reassure not just him, but the others too. Jake admired her strength, even in this moment of crisis. He moved closer to his students, kneeling in the soft light of the room. "We've faced challenges before," he said, his voice steady. "Remember when we tried to paint that big mural? We didn't give up, did we?" A few heads nodded, the corners of their mouths beginning to lift. "Exactly. We kept working and created something beautiful," he continued, feeling a sense of responsibility weigh on him. If anyone could bring back their light, it had to be him. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from outside. The kids flinched, their hands reaching instinctively for each other. Jake's heart pounded. "Let's all stay together. It's okay." He wrapped an arm around a girl who had started to tremble. "What if—" Maria began, but Jake saw the uncertainty flicker in her eyes and quickly cut in. "Right now, our focus is on staying safe and together. We may not know what's happening out there, but what we do know is how strong we are together," he reminded all of them, searching each of their faces for a glimmer of hope. As they huddled on the floor, Jake felt the warmth of their shared presence. He could see the bond between them growing stronger, weaving connections that defied the chaos outside. It was a subtle reminder that even in uncertain times, there was an unbreakable spirit among them, one that didn't rest on the edges of fear, but rather on the foundation of every moment they had shared. "Let's take a moment to talk about something good," Maria suggested, uplifting the mood. "Who can share something they're proud of today?" Hands shot up, and soon they were exchanging stories about the mural, each word sprinkled with laughter that echoed in the room like sunlight piercing through the clouds. Jake smirked at their rekindled joy. Then, with a quick glance outside, Jake's smile faltered. The chaos outside had turned into a steady stream of flashing lights and distant shouts. The urgency of the moment pressed down on him. "Listen, kids," he said, his tone changing. "I want you to remember our heart on that mural. No matter the storms that come, we have each other." Suddenly, the lights outside flashed into the living room, illuminating their faces, a reminder of the world pressing in. A knock at the door shattered the moment, heavy, demanding, uncertain. What now? Jake thought, the sense of dread creeping back. He moved slowly toward the door, heart pounding, unsure of what awaited them on the other side. Would it bring answers or more uncertainty? He turned and faced the children, who were all watching him expectantly. "Stay close, no matter what happens," he commanded, taking a deep breath. He stepped toward the door, unsure of whether he was ready for whatever lay beyond. Would they still be united when faced with the truth waiting on the other side? Jake's hand hovered over the doorknob, shaking slightly. The children stayed quiet, their eyes wide, trust transfixed on him. He steeled himself, forcing a smile, even as anxiety brewed inside. "On the count of 3, he said, trying to project calm. 1, 2, 3. With a deep breath, he turned the knob and pulled the door open. The bright lights from outside flooded in, illuminating the small room in a harsh glare. It took a moment for his eyes to adjust. He blinked hard, and then gasped. Staring back at him was a group of shadowy figures, adults, dressed in dark uniforms, faces serious and stern. "Sir, we need to speak with you," one of them called out, their voice steady but demanding. Jake felt his stomach drop. "What's happening?" he called back, guarded. "Please step outside." The officer gestured, but Jake hesitated, looking back at the kids who were now huddled together, their expressions ranging from confusion to fear. "Are they safe?" he managed to ask, knowing his first priority had to be their protection. The officer paused, glancing back over his shoulder. "We believe so, but we need your cooperation. There's been a situation in the area. Your safety may be compromised." "Mr. Jake," a small voice piped up, breaking through the tension. It was Lily, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Please don't go." He turned his gaze back outside. The officer's eyes were stern, but beneath the authority, Jake sensed a flicker of empathy. "I promise. I will take care of this," he said. "I'll be right back." Stepping outside, he felt a chill wash over him. The street was filled with flashing lights, the sounds of people shouting softly in the distance, as if muffled by thick walls. The night felt eerie and surreal. "Sir, there's been a report of a situation nearby. We need to know if you can give us any details about what you saw," the officer began, his tone more commanding now. Jake swallowed hard. "I don't know much. Just noise, chaos. We've been inside." As he talked, the urge to look back at the children almost overwhelmed him, but he forced himself to stay focused. "Your neighbors? Do you know if anyone has left the area?" the officer pressed. "No, they're all indoors. I was just with the kids," he said, clarity emerging as he recalled the laughter and stories they had shared just moments ago. Even then, beneath the unease, he felt pride in how they came together. The officer nodded, scribbling on a notepad. "We're going to sweep the area, but we have to get you and the kids to safety. Gather them up and stay with us." Jake's heart raced. "Is it really that dangerous?" he asked, a knot forming in his throat. "It's best if we don't discuss it here. We need to move quickly," the officer replied, glancing around nervously. Swallowing his fear, Jake turned back, scanning the doorway. The kids awaited, trusting, innocent, fragile. He hurried back inside, thoughts spiraling. What if their world was about to crash down? But instead of acknowledging panic, he focused on being their anchor. "Listen up, everyone," he called. He knelt before them, forcing calm in his voice. "We're going to play a game. It's called Stay Together. It's about focusing on each other and trusting one another." "Are we safe?" Lily asked, biting her lip. "Yes, we're safe as long as we stick together," Jake promised, trying to reassure not just her, but every frightened face around him. "Let's be brave. Can you do that?" They nodded, a small chorus of affirmations rising. Jake could feel the unity filling the room again, just like when they painted that mural. "Let's step outside together," Maria said, her eyes steady as she stood beside him. "We'll face whatever comes our way, won't we?" Jake took another breath, feeling the weight of the situation press against his shoulders. Following Maria's lead, he gathered the children closely, guarding their hearts and hopes. The moment of truth lay just outside, and they would face it together. But as he pushed open the door, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were stepping into a storm far more perilous than they ever imagined. What awaited them in the night? Little did they know. Nothing would remain the same after this. As Jake stepped outside with Maria and the kids, a stark chill kissed the air, contrasting the warmth of their laughter just moments earlier. The street was filled with officers, their silhouettes tense under the flickering lights, and the atmosphere turned heavy with uncertainty. Jake felt a protective instinct surge through him, anchoring him amidst the chaos. "Stay close to me. Just like we practiced," he declared, his voice strong as they walked hand in hand down the driveway. Maria, ever the steady presence, held onto the smallest child, assuring him everything would be all right even as her own heart raced. What if they were stepping into danger? Jake dared not entertain that thought. Instead, he initiated a comforting chant. "We're strong, we're brave, we're together." With each of the kids joining in, their voices rising like a shield against fear. It was a simple reminder of how far they'd come, how they could face uncertainties as a unit. A few steps ahead, an officer directed them toward safety with a wave of a hand. "Over here, please." His uniform gleamed under the luminous sirens, but the kindness in his gesture offered a flicker of reassurance. They reached a temporary assembly point set by the police, and Jake quickly surveyed their surroundings. The children huddled closer as the reality of the situation began to settle in. Discussions and whispers filled the air like a haunting background choir, sifting through anxious moments shared among neighbors pulled from their homes. It's okay, Jake murmured, bending down to meet the children's eyes again. "Let's take a deep breath together. In and out." They followed, inhaling and exhaling, allowing calm to float in the air. A few of the kids giggled, breaking the tension, and he felt buoyed by their resilience. Suddenly, a voice called from behind them. "Jake! Maria!" It was their neighbor, Ms. Collins, a woman with weathered hands who had joined them at the mural painting. Her brow was furrowed in concern as she hurried over, gripping Jake's arm. "What's happening? We heard sirens and it's scary out here." "Don't worry, Ms. Collins," Jake said, feeling emboldened by her presence. "We're okay. Just sticking together like we promised." Her worried gaze softened a little, and Maria added, "Let's share what we know and offer support. We're in this as a community." The words resonated, tapping into what they had begun to build. Jake's spirit flickered with determination. If they could face everyday struggles with compassion, surely they could tackle tonight's uncertainty together. Moments later, a soft voice chimed in. "Mr. Jake, do you think we can paint again?" It was Lily, her curious gaze wide and hopeful amidst the tension. "You said we could create a heart. Maybe that can remind everyone to be brave." Jake felt a profound rush of love for these kids, their innocence a glowing light against the looming darkness. Absolutely, we can paint a heart for this very moment, to remind ourselves of our strength and unity. It may not solve everything, but it'll be a place of hope. Spurred by Lily's idea, the children began to beam with excitement. As he gathered their art supplies from the car nearby, Jake noticed Ms. Collins smiling, her heart rekindling as she stood up, rallying her neighbors to bring whatever they could, a couple of tarps, a few paintbrushes, and suddenly, a small crafting area emerged. By the time the officers finished their conversations, a small art station was set. Together, they laid out canvases and paints, and soon laughter bubbled as children, adults, and officers alike joined in, creating a tapestry of hope under the night sky. "Let's make it bright. Let's make it together," Jake shouted over the gentle laughter. His heart swelled, knowing that amidst the chaos outside, they were bringing light to a tense moment. Murmurs of joy surrounded as the canvas turned from blank to vibrant, colors spilling like their hopes onto that very fabric, painting a heart at the center. Everyone contributed, each stroke filled with laughter, connection, and the promise of resilience. As they painted, Jake glanced over at Maria, who was deep in conversation with Ms. Collins and a couple of other neighbors. They were creating lines of connection, weaving relationships like the colors merging on the canvas. Her face glowed with determination and pride, a far cry from the hesitation they had once shared. Tonight is a testament, he thought, realizing together they could weather any storm, that this new life had sprouted roots deeper than he had ever imagined. The mural came to life. They added messages of unity, strength, and hope. Finally, under the moonlit sky, Jake stepped back, exhausted but elated. Words sprang to life, and the heart glowed amidst the cool night air. Their creation became a beacon, an emblem of what they represented, reflecting the beautiful tapestry of their stories, struggles, and victories. "Look," Lily exclaimed, her small voice rising above the crowd. A heart for everyone." Cheers erupted as they gathered closer, embracing one another, and in that moment, Jake felt full, a warmth filling each crevice of doubt. No sirens, no darkness could dim that light. They had witnessed transformation, hope interwoven within their struggles. They had painted something beautiful, something worthwhile. As the crowd quieted, Jake's gaze swept over the fantastic mural. It was more than just paint. It was the embodiment of resilience, a reminder they were a community, and they would always stand together. From that day forward, they knew. No matter what challenges lay ahead, the heart they built remained strong, vibrating with energy, illuminating their paths. "Together," Jake whispered, feeling Maria's hand in his. Under the dim glow of streetlights, they knew this was just the beginning of new chapters to come. Don't miss out on what's next. You need to subscribe now to stay updated on these incredible transformations and heartwarming stories. Like this video now to feed the algorithm and join our growing family of supporters. Share your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear how this ending made you feel. And don't wait. Not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel inspired today. Your support means the world.